So this is what we wanted to build, and this is what we built. This is exactly same like the animation that we see here. Hey guys, so recently I saw this cool animated tab bar somewhere, and I thought let's build this in Flutter. So let's dive right in and start building this cool animated tab bar in Flutter. So I have an empty app here, empty Flutter app. So let's start building this animated tab bar. So I'll go to the Flutter's website, which has the tab controller widget. I'll copy some code. So they have some sample code. We'll copy that, and I'll go to my, so I have in this app I have a main.dart where we're using a home widget. So I'll go to my home widget and I'll replace it with the code that we just copied. And I'll rename the widget to home again. I'll save it and I'll restart the app. Let's see how it looks. Nothing yet. I think it did not restart. Cool, now it restarted. You can see there are two tabs, there's left, there's right, and there's an app bar. So let's go back to our UI, the tab bar. Let's see how it looks. So this is what we need to build, and this is what we have right now. So let's start making some changes, and then we'll finally be able to build this animated tab bar. So firstly, these kind of tabs, they should be placed in the bottom of the screen, not on the top. So right now we have the tabs on the top. So let's move the tabs to the bottom. So what we can do is, so we have given the tabs in app bar as the bottom property. So I'll copy this tab bar and I'll remove this app bar. And scaffold has a property called bottom navigation bar. I'll use that and I'll paste the tab bar there. Let's see what happens. So if you can see the tabs are there on the bottom, but you're not able to see it because of the white color. So what I'll do is go to my tab bar and I'll give it a label color, colors.black. Let's see how it looks. Cool. Now you can see the tabs, which has the tab names of left and right, and we have certain tabs. So what do we need to build? We need to build something like this. So first, let's give it a background color like this. So I'll copy this color and I'll go to my tab bar view. I'll wrap it with a container and I'll give it a color. So the color would be color of FF. So if you want to convert hex code into Flutter color, you use this color. It starts with 0xff, then you paste your color code and remove the hash. And if it shows any error like this, prefer const with constant constructor, you have to use const. So press Ctrl dot and then click on add const modifier. Let's see how it looks. Cool. Now we have a nice background color and we have the tabs. So let's do certain modifications and then let's try to bring the UI close to this. So initially, so what do we need? We need this icons, right? So let's start coding the icons first. So right now we have tab and the tab has text left and right. So let's give those tabs some icons. So I'm giving icons. So we'll use Cupertino icons for this. Cupertino icons is iOS styled icons. So I'll use Cupertino icons.home. So icon has to be in icon widget. So I'll copy paste this. Home, what are the different tabs? Home, favorites, settings, and profile. So let's use 3 to start. Then we'll add more tabs when we need. So this will be home and this will be favorites. And dot favorites, or I think it is heart. Just a sec. So what's wrong? Okay, I pasted it outside. It has to be pasted inside. Dot, I think it is heart. Cool. Let's copy paste this, and we'll have one more tab that would be settings. Settings and Cupertino icons. Dot, I think this is gear icon. Let's see how it looks. Nothing happens. Okay, it's because my tabs. I just need to restart it. Now then it should work. Cool. So now we have home, favorite, settings. We have 3 tabs. So now we need to code the UI like this. And if you see the animation, these icons, whenever a tab is active, the icon will move up and then the text will slide to the tab. So this is what we need to build, and we can't do this animation with the built-in tab bar. So So we need to code a custom tab bar. So let's start coding a custom tab bar along with the animations. What I'll do is I'll create a new widget called Animated tab bar. So I'm typing st_full. So this will create a stateful widget, and I'll name it Animated tab bar. And I'll use this instead of the tab bar. So if I go to my tab bar, so I'll use my animated tab bar here, animated tab bar. Now if you see this, nothing really happens here, because, and also this animated tab bar, because we didn't give any height, we just gave an empty container. It's taking up the entire space. So I'll just give it a height of 60 just to show you that we haven't lost our content. So yeah, now the tab bar is here and our content is here, but we don't have anything in the tab bar. So what I'll do is I'll go to my animated tab bar widget, and let's have some data. So first I'll use something called as tab height 60.4. So this will be the height of the tab bar, and this is what we'll be using at multiple places. And what else do we need? We need a list of tabs. So we'll have, so what we'll do is we'll make this animated tab bar take certain properties, and these properties will be passed by this home page. So what we'll do is first let's define list of tabs. So final list of tab called tabs, and this will be required this dot tabs. So now we are saying that this animated tab bar needs a property called tabs. So wherever we use this animated tab bar, it will throw an error if we don't pass the list of tabs. So you can see that the name parameter tabs is required. So we need to pass those. I'll pass those. So we have already defined our tabs here. So it's in the name of my tabs. So I'm passing those here. My tabs. Throwing some error, add const modifier, cool. So let's start rendering the tabs now. So instead of returning an empty container, we'll use the row to render the list of the icons that we have in the tabs here. So I'll use a row, and I'll use children. Now we will map over those tabs and we'll render those icons. So we have widget.tabs.map. So we can use map, but instead of using map, I would use as map, because using map you won't get the index of the element, but by using as map you can get the index of the element using the entries. So I'll be using this method. Like basically it's the same map or as map, but because we need the index of the element in this case to animate to certain tabs, I'm using as map here. As map dot entries dot map, and I'll be using this one. Map list, and this would be entry, and final I equals to entry dot. So that I is the so I is the index of the element, and tab would be the entry dot value. Cool. And then we'll finally return tab dot icon. Something is wrong. List of widget can't be assigned to the parameter list of widget, because Flutter is null safe. This icon could be null sometimes, so because of that Flutter is throwing error. So what I would do is return tab.icon. If tab.icon is empty, then we'll just return some fallback. So icon of Cupertino icons. Cupertino icons dot home. So this is just a fallback. You don't have to worry about this too much. This part you don't have to worry about this too much, because it's just a fallback. So let's see how this looks. Cool. Now we are rendering home icon, heart icon, and the settings icon. But let's go back to our UI again. So we need it like this. We need it to be separate like this. We need a lot of spacing. All these icons should be equally spaced. So let's do that now. So what I do is I'll wrap our tab.icon with an expanded widget. So what expanded widget does is it takes up all the remaining space, and also it equally distributes the space to all the children. So let's see how it looks. So you can see that now it takes all these 3 icons take up all the space, and also they are equally divided amongst the icons. Cool. What else do we need? Now we need it to have certain height. So right now you can see that there's no height. So we'll wrap this icon with a container. So container, and I'll give it a height. Tab height. We have already defined the tab height, so we'll just use that. In the color, it will be colors.transparent. Cool. Let's see how it looks. Nice. So now we have a nice tab bar. But if you see this, nothing really happens on clicking those. But so on clicking those, we should be able to change these tabs. So what I'll do is, so we already have a controller here. We have already defined a tab controller. So we will make this animated tab bar take one more prop called controller, and we will make it required, so that wherever we use this animated tab bar, we should pass the controller. So let's do that now. So final tab controller, and I'll make this required this dot controller. Now this controller has to be passed, so I'll go back here, controller underscore tab controller. So we're basically passing the tab controller that we have initialized here to our animated tab bar class. It shows some error. It's because of the const, so we have to remove const here. Cool. Let's see what happens. So nothing really happens. We're just passing the controller, but now we should start using the controller. So what we can do is, so I'll put a gesture detector. So whenever we tap on this, we should be able to navigate to the certain tab. So we go to our container, and I'll wrap it with a widget called gesture detector. So this will detect the tabs, and on tap, all we need to do is animate to the tab based on the index. So widget dot, we are already getting the controller, as you can see here. So widget dot controller dot. So tab controller has a property called animate to. So we'll use animate to, and we already have the index. So I was talking about as map and index, right? So this is why we need the index here. So we need the index so that we can animate to that particular index. So we'll animate to that index. So let's see how this looks. I'll just restart it. Let's see how this looks. Cool. Now on tapping it, the tabs are also moving. So we have what we have done so far is we built a custom tab bar, and it is also integrated with the tab bar view. So whenever we tap on the tabs, it will also change the tabs. Let's simplify our tab bar view. I don't want all this text. I'll just render. What was that? Okay, tab dot icon. I just want to simplify the tab bar view. We have all this text, right? I removed the text and I'm just rendering a icon. So let's see how it looks. Cool. Now we just have a icon, just a nice clean UI. So now we have home, favorites, and settings. Cool. What else? What's the next step? Home, favorite, settings. So next what we need is, now we should start animating this widget. So if you see the animation, the icon should, whenever a tab is active, the icon will go up and the text will scroll there. So first let's build the animation of the icon sliding up. We'll start with that, and then we'll build the other animations. So for this animation, we will be using Flutter's implicitly animated widgets. So what is an implicitly animated widget? So implicitly animated widget is a widget by the Flutter team. So what it does is, it takes care of animating the things for us. So we don't have to build animation controllers. We don't have to think of how do we animate this, all those things. So all we need is, we need to use any of these implicitly animated widgets like this, like animated opacity or animated slide, animated container, any of this. Use these widgets and give it some state values, and whenever you update those state values, Flutter takes care of automatically updating these widgets for us, or automatically animating these widgets for us, so that we don't have to take care of all those animation controllers and all that. So this works really well in this particular use case. So let's start using this animated widget. So what I'll do is, so if you see the UI, the first animation that we're going to do is sliding the icons up. This, whenever a tab is active, the icon should slide up. So for that, so we need a state, right? So what's the state here? We need to know which tab is active. So let's keep track of the tab index which is active. So let's do that now. So I'll go here and I'll define int called tab index. I'll just make it final. It'll automatically understand. Flutter will Dart will automatically understand that it is an int. So initially the tab index would be 0, and so now whenever the tab changes, we need to update this tab index. So how we would do that? Because we already have the controller, we already have the tab controller, and tab controller has a status listener. So we'll use that status listener and update our tab index. So what I'll do is I'll write init state. So I'll write init state, and on init state, so we have our widget.controller.add listener, and on listener what we'll do is we'll update our index. So set state, we'll update the state using set state, and tab index equals to widget.controller.index. There is some error, undefined name tab index. Okay, sorry. So I have to define the tab index within the state, but by mistake I defined it here. So not final. Okay, it should not be final, it should be int. So whenever we have state values which will be updated, we should not give final. We should make we should just define the type of it. So now we are updating the tab index. So now you cannot see it, but internally, like whenever the tab is changed, the index is getting updated. If you will see that next when we go there. So what's the next thing that we need to do? So now we'll start animating the icons. So we have everything in place, so all we need to do is animate it. We have the state, we know which index is active, and based on that we'll be animating the icons. So I'll go to my tab.icon, and what I would do is I'll wrap it with a widget called animated slide. So what animated slide does is it will help us animate something like in horizontal or vertical positions. So in our case, we need to animate the icon like up and down, right? So that is vertical position. So we can use this animated slide widget and animate it. So all these implicitly animated widgets take certain properties, that is duration, curve, and like few other properties. So, but the main two things are duration and curve. So let's define a duration which will be commonly used in all our implicitly animated widgets. So what I would do is final animation duration. I'm defining a variable called animation duration, and duration of milliseconds, sorry, not micro, milliseconds 300, and final curve. So this is the animation curve that we'll be using for all our implicitly animated widgets. So we can use a curve like easy out. This is a nice animation curve. Sorry, ease in out. It's add const modifier. Cool. So now we'll go to our animated slide. Let's give it a duration, and let's give it a curve. Animation curve. Did I change it? Okay, not curve. Let's make it animation curve. Okay, let's make it animation curve. And animated slide also has a property called offset. So now we need to give a offset. So what is offset? So offset takes two properties, so that is dx and dy. So dx is the horizontal offset and dy is the vertical offset. In our animation, we need to slide the icon up, so that is the vertical offset. So we don't have to worry about the horizontal offset. So we don't have to worry about dx, which is the horizontal offset. So I'll give it 0. and now we should give the vertical offset. And how animated slide works is, so whenever you give a value, it animates it based on the percentage of the size of the widget. So what we can do is, we want this icon to slide up slightly up, right? So what we can do is, let's say we want to animate it like 15% up. So I'll give it 0.15. So now this widget will animate it to 15%. So let's see how it looks. Not plus 15, minus 15. If I give plus 15, it will go down. If I give minus 15, minus 0.15, it will move up by minus 15%. I'll give it minus 15. But we don't want all these icons to be animated, right? We want only the icon which is active, only the tab which is active. In that case, the icon should move up, otherwise it should not move up. So what we can do, we have already defined our tab index. So based on the tab index, we can animate it. So we'll use, let's define one more property called is active tab, and I equals to tab index. We're just checking if that particular tab is active or not, and only if it is active, then we will move it up by 15%. Otherwise we don't move it, we'll just give it 0. So let's see how it looks. Cool. Now you can see that this, right now this is active. If I move, you can see that this moves up. If I go here, this moves up. So whichever tab is active, that will move up. This is the power of Flutter. We did not write much, like we did not write any animation code. All we did is we use the implicitly animated widget, and based on the state, we're telling that make it offset by 15%, and Flutter will take care of animating it by 15%. Like we don't have to worry about moving it from 0 to 15. Flutter will take care of animating it for us. Oh, cool. Now we have this. So what's the next thing that we need? So we have that, and the next thing that we need is the text. The text which animates from one tab to another tab. So let's do that now. So because this text has to be animated, like it should move from beginning to end, we can't really do it inside this expanded widget. We have to use a stack and render this text on top of all of this. So what we can do is, I'll go to my row, I'll wrap it with a stack. Wrap it with column, and I'll change it to stack. Let's see if it changed anything. Okay, nothing changed. Now let's use our let's use text. Let's just use a text widget, just to show you that we are rendering the tab name. So in text we'll use just a sec. So we have the tab index. So based on the tab index, we'll render the text which is active. So widget dot tabs of tab index dot text. So let's see what happens. You can see that it is loading home here. Let's give it a font size. Oh, sorry, style, text style. I'll give it a font size, maybe 12. Cool. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, so nice. So we have, so whenever we change the tabs, it will change the text as well. You can see home, favorites, settings. Nice. So now we have the changing text. So now we need to animate this text from here till here till here. So to do that, first what we need is, so if you see it here, so we should make the width of this text also somewhere like the, so we should make the width of this text same as the width of the tab, and then center align it. And then we animate it from one place to another place. So to do that, what we can do is, because it is in a stack, we can't really use expanded here. We need to calculate the width of the tab here. So what we can do is we'll wrap it with a widget, and there's a widget called fractionally sized box. Sorry, fractionally sized box, and we'll give it a width factor. So let's say, like, so we have 3 tabs, right? So what is the width of each tab? 33%, right? 1 by 3. So if there are 4 tabs, then the width of each tab would be 25%, right? 1 by 4. If there are 5 tabs, it will be like 1 by 5. If there are 6 tabs, it will be 1 by 6. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll use the width factor and we'll use 1 divided by tabs.length, widget.tabs.length. And just to show you like what's going on, I'll wrap it with the container. So first let me show you how it looks without the fractionally sized box. So I'll remove this. I'll wrap it with a container. So this is just to show you what's going on. So I'll wrap it with a container. I'll give it a color, colors.red. So let's see where is it. So right now it's just the width of this home text is very small. It's just here. It's just lying there on the top left. So now what we are going to do is we are wrapping this text with fractionally sized box, resized box, and we'll give it a width factor. So as I mentioned, 1 divided by widget.tabs.length. So now you can see that it expanded to the, like, now the width of this text is as same as the width of the tab. So now let's also give it some height. That is same as the tab height. Let's see how it looks. Nice. So now we have this text which the width of which is equal to the width of the tab. So now we can animate it from here till here, then till here, wherever we want. So to do that animation, what we need another widget called I think it is animated align. Yeah, we need animated align in this case. So what we'll do is, in this case, we have a container. Just a sec. So first, before that, I would wrap this text in a center widget so that it is centered. Nice. So now it is centered. So now let's animate it from here till here and then here. So to animate that, we have a container. So we'll wrap this container with animated align. So this will help us animate this red box from here till here, then here. So we will remove the red box as well. I've made it red just so that we understand what's going on. So we'll use this widget called animated align. So let's define some properties. Duration would be animation duration. Curve would be animation curve. And then alignment. So this is the important part that you need to focus on. So alignment. So animated align can take alignment of fractional offset. So let's just define fractional offset. I'll first explain it with some hard-coded values. Then you can understand it. Then we can make it dynamic. First, I'll make it 0,0. So let's see what happens. Something happened. It's because we have used a stack now, and stack is not able to figure out the height of this widget. So what we can do is wrap the stack with the container and give it a height, tab height. I'll make it colors.transparent. Sorry, not teal, transparent. So now it should be back to normal. Because we used a stack and the stack had animated align, stack was not able to figure out the height of the widget. So we wrapped it with the container and gave it a tab height. So now if you see it here, we have given a fractional offset 0,0. So as you know, first property is always x dx and second property is dy. So that is first property is horizontal and the second property is vertical. So in this case, we need to animate it from here till here and then here, only a left to right, horizontal, right? So we don't have to worry about the y property. So that will always be 0. So let's make this x property 1 to understand what happens. So if we made the x property 1, it went to the corner. If we make the x property 0, it comes to the beginning. So then what should we do to get this x property to the center? So the leftmost is 0. And the rightmost is 1. So the beginning part is 0 and the ending part is 1. So what should we do to make it align to the center? So it's between 0 and 1, right? So what's between 0 and 1? It is 0.5, right? So if we do it 0.5, it will align to the center. So this is the logic that we are going to implement, but we can't hard code this. We need to write some code and make it dynamic. So what I'll do is So I'll write some code to make this dynamic. So 1 divided by tabs dot widget dot tabs dot length minus 1, and I will multiply it with the tab index. I'll explain this code. So right now this is active. If I click on this, you can see that this is moving, right? So let's talk about this code, this dynamic code. So 1 divided by widget.tabs.length. So how many tabs are there? There are 3 tabs, right? So 3 minus 1 is 2. So this becomes 1 by 2. And then we are multiplying with the tab index. So let's say we are here. So now the tab index is 0. So 1 by 2 into 0, that is 0, which is nothing but 0, 0. And so the same way, if the tab index is 2, 1 by 2 into 2, that becomes 1. What happens when the index is 1? It will be here. And the same way, 1 by 2 into 1. 1 by 2 into 1 is nothing but 0.5, and it will be on the center. So that's the logic here. So we made it dynamic so that it works for n number of tabs. Even if we define like 10 tabs or 20 tabs, it will still work with this, just with the simple logic. I'll even show that. I'll show you. I'll add one more tab and I'll show you. It will work perfectly. And so now let's remove this colors.red. We don't need this anymore. That was added just for explanation. Colors.transparent. So now we have home. So let's add some spacing for the home text. I'll go to home. I'll wrap it with padding and edge insets of only, let's say 20.0. Top. So we're adding some top padding so that it'll have some space between the icon and this. So let's see how this looks. Nice. So we have the home icon and the text. So let's see how it looks. Cool. We have a really good animation already, but let's do some more improvements. Let's get it closer to our UI. If you see the UI, it's not so far we have done that the icon sliding up and the text sliding left and right. So what else do we need? We need to, if you see here, the inactive tab should have lesser opacity and the active tab should have higher opacity. So let's do that now. So what we can do is here, animated align, row, expanded gesture detector. So we have this container, right? Let's wrap this container with animated opacity. This is another implicitly animated widget. Animated opacity, and duration would be animation duration, and curve would be animation curve, and the opacity would be, if is active tab, then we'll keep the opacity 1, and if it is not active, we'll keep the opacity of this tool 0.25. So let's see how this looks. Cool. So now you can see that if the tab is active, it will have full opacity, that is 1. If it is inactive, it will have only 25% opacity, that is 0.25. So that it will nicely animate the opacity also for us. Cool, pretty cool, right? Cool. So I made some changes and now even the white space is clickable. You can see this. We have a nice animation, and let's see the original animation again. So the original animation has one more tab. So let's add one more tab and see if our tabs adapt to it. If our new animated tab bar adapt to an extra tab. So I'll go here. I'll copy this. We'll paste this, and the last one would be profile and Cupertino icons dot, I think it is person. Let's see how it looks. I need to restart it. Let's see. Cool. Now it's working perfectly. So we have written code in a dynamic way, in such a way that it will adapt to n number of tabs. Doesn't matter if it is 1 tab, doesn't matter if it is 2 tabs or 3 tabs or 4 tabs or 5 tabs. It will always work. Cool. Let's compare it with our actual animation. So this is what we wanted to build, and this is what we built. This is exactly same like the animation that we see here. So that's how you build animated tab bar using implicitly animated widgets in Flutter. If you see the amount of lines of code, it's actually very less. It's I think it is like 150 lines of code, but if you see the code of the animated tab bar itself, it's like 76 to 16. It's just 100 lines of code. So with just 100 lines of code, we built this amazing, cool animated tab bar. And so yeah, I'll put out the source code in the description. You can check out the source code and you can try to use it in your app. And if possible, I'll also try to make this into a third-party library in pub.dev. I think it is pub.dev. Yeah, in the pub.dev website, I'll try to make this as a third-party library so that you can quickly install this tab bar with just one command. So I'll try to do that. And yeah, that's for the video. I hope you guys liked it, and if you liked it, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. And I'll see you guys with another video next time. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, do write it in the comment section. And if you want me to make any specific videos on any specific topic, be it Flutter, anything related to tech, if you want me to do a video on that, please post it in the comments and I'll try to do a video on that. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you guys. See you. Bye bye.